Hello, everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting for the Village of Lytton on January 27th. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone to please turn off your videos, mute your microphones, and allow council to begin the proceedings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and broadcasted on the Village of Lytton YouTube channel. If you wish to view this meeting or access a video recording of a past meeting, you can visit the Village YouTube channel and watch it there. Thank you, Your Worship. You may call the meeting to order.
Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. So to begin, I want to say that the Village of Lytton recognizes that we're situated on the unceded traditional ancestral territory of the Endlakattan people, and that also acknowledge that we value the social, economic, and neighborly relationships and partnerships we have with the Endlakattan. All right, so we have the agenda in front of us, so we need a motion to talk. Councillor Lightfoot and a seconder, Councillor Toss, all those in favor, carried. We have the minutes of the regular meeting of January the 13th. Councillor Lightfoot, second. I'll second. I apologize, I did it again. Councillor Michelle, seconds, and all those in favor. Carried. No errors or omissions. Because I missed that. Speak now or forever hold fast. All right. I'll turn it back over to Corporate Officer Storoshenko for public comment.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we now invite members of the public to provide comments on items related to tonight's agenda. If you would like to speak, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. You can find that by clicking on React at the bottom of your screen and then select Raise Hand. When it's your turn, I'll read your name and you will be asked to unmute yourself. You'll have 2 minutes to speak, and we ask that you please spell your name, provide your address, and indicate the agenda item that you're speaking to. So if anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. I'll call for a second time. If anyone wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function now. I'm not seeing anyone online, Your Worship. Is there anyone at Parish Hall that wishes to speak?
Do we have anyone who wishes to speak? Not tonight.
No, not tonight. All right. So thank you. That concludes the public comment portion of the meeting. Back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. So we'll move right on to item number 7, staff reports. And we have CIO Mondaket in the room with us today. So she'll begin with her report regarding capital projects.
Thank you very much, Mayor O'Connor. Good evening, everybody. And this is one of our regular monthly items. We didn't look at the capital projects update in December because we only had the one meeting early in the month. So this reflects what's happened since our meeting. So with respect to the community hub, targeted for 320 400 Fraser Street, we have now been working with the architects on a schematic design. We received the preliminary one, provided some feedback, and the revised one is underway. We're working with the contractor to complete a proposal for the pool and supporting washroom, changing room buildings. So we should have that for council's consideration relatively soon. Some of the next steps, once we have the schematic design that council has a chance to approve, we will then be scheduling a community meeting to share that information, as well as a project advisory committee meeting to share the schematic design. On the fire hall, we had the very happy announcement in December that we were approved for the funding of $23.1 million for a fire and emergency services building. Will be constructed up on Highway 1 on a lot that's immediately adjacent to the cemetery that the village owns up there. So that application was successful. So we've been working with our partners at GICB. We have a signed contribution agreement and we're underway with the planning. So the first step for that would be to issue an RFP for the architect to design the building that it will eventually build. Excuse me, as part of that project, we have sort of ongoing discussions with our local First Nation partners who we have agreements with to provide fire services, as well as just sort of some general community consultation on that, particularly on the emergency services side, which incorporates everybody in the region. So it will be an emergency operations center, and we'll have other services available like that. On the village office, scheduled for 380 Main Street, the tender has been issued. It's been out for about a week and a half. Initial closing date for that is February the 10th. We're anticipating that we'll probably extend it 1 week just based on some of the inquiries that are coming back from potential proponents. But we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to get some good proposals in on that one. The archaeology work plan for that property is underway and has been submitted to the technical working group for endorsement. So they can do that while the process is all happening. So we're hoping to get that out of the way. The next steps on that will be to evaluate the responses and then bring a recommendation to council for that. Public Works building is complete. We don't need to talk about that anymore. On the water upgrades, you may remember we had talked a number of times about an issue that had been identified with a potential blockage from the 265 reservoir just above the highway, the main line down into the village, and potential restriction of fire flows. So we've been working on that, trying to determine exactly what the issue was. That issue was identified and has been solved. It's actually a valve that was stuck closed. So we were able to get it open and the water started to flow. So we've done water tests and we've done pressure tests and everything, and it has solved that issue. So the good news about that is it was kind of ranked as our #1 issue on the water system. And we weren't sure if it was going to take all of our grant money, none of our, so we couldn't really plan anything else. Now that that has been solved, we're underway with continuing. You may remember again that we had a list of initial water projects and a large amount left to spend. We're meeting tomorrow to prepare our list to bring back to council for approval on the remaining money. So we're underway with many more projects in that area. We also have an assessment of well number 1 underway to determine if that can be reactivated and added to the system. And we did complete a pre-qualification of civil contractors. So we've selected a list of 3 over $200,000 projects and a list of 3 for under $200,000 projects. On the sewer upgrades, we have completed the design of the sewer replacement that will go down Center Lane from 6th Street to 1st Street and then over to Fraser, and we'll incorporate the West Lane properties. So we worked with one of our qualified consultants on that, and it was an interesting process because what we thought that project was, we gave to them, and then they came back with a better recommendation. So it's worked out really well, and our team, our municipal engineer and contract manager, both been fully supportive of the solution that was proposed, and that's all gone ahead. So we're requesting pricing from our 3 pre-qualified contractors and should be able to bring a recommendation to this meeting for that work so it can get underway. The archaeology plan is underway, and I do believe that it's been endorsed. So that piece of the project is done. We also have some capacity study underway at the wastewater treatment plant that has been underway for a little while to kind of identify what type of investment might be needed there, if any. And then the next step is also to complete the SCADA system and backup system upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant. So those projects are all moving on. That's it. Thank you.
So let's put the motion forward to receive this report for information.
I will make that motion.
And seconder, Toss, and questions and comments. Councillor Lightfoot.
I'm just wondering what the fire hall, I see you're talking about talking to local First Nation partners and community consultation. Will there be an effort to sit down with the fire department as an entity to see?
Yeah, we just consider that part of our internal process because they're part of the village of Lytton, but they will definitely be part of the needs analysis and all that stuff. Yeah, for sure.
I was at Fire Smart a while ago and someone said, are they going to come meet with us? So,
for sure. Yeah.
It needs to be clarified.
Yeah. Okay. I'll make sure that they know that,
Okay.
Particularly as we're talking about it with the new announcement of funding and everything. Yeah.
I'm curious.
Councillor McCann's next.
Yes, I had 2 things. You said Public Works building we don't have to talk about anymore, and I went, oh yes we do. One of the things this is my long range thinking going on, not the immediate plan, and then of course the immediate plan is done. But I would really like to have on the record at some point in time to research solar panels on the roof of that building to see if it could not be used to reduce the energy requirement for the building, if there's a grant available to do that. And as far as the water is concerned, there has always been a lot of concern about availability of water for the village of Lytton for firefighting and for big fires. And like we had that huge conversation after the big fire. And somehow I want to know that we didn't just lose all of that and that there's still a plan out there somewhere that the village of Lytton is involved with, because maybe I'm just missing it.
Yeah.
But that, to me, the water upgrades include that kind of stuff. The thinking for how to manage the next 20 years and what kind of reserves, and if we have any capacity to continue to do that, or just we don't.
And that's what the grant is targeted at, is increasing
Okay.
fire flows. That's actually the purpose of the grant. So
Okay.
we were able to fix some small things in the system that were making it difficult for us to provide service at all
Yeah.
to some areas.
Yeah.
But the overall intention of the grant is to increase the fire flows to the village. So that's the focus of all of the projects. And when the list comes, you'll see those projects on the list.
Yeah, good. I think it's support. We all see it, and not just me. Yep.
You, the greater you.
Yeah. Point made. I got it.
Thank you, Councillor Toss.
Thank you. I heard what Councillor McCann about the supply, right? The capacity for the water and long-term planning. I don't know, we've had this discussion, but I'd love to see a feasibility study on an intake system off of the Thompson, perhaps for a non-potable. It's been tried before. From what I've heard anecdotally in the village, it wasn't implemented correctly. It wasn't deep enough, or I'm not exactly sure, but there's community members that have a lot of knowledge about it. I don't, but I don't have a lot of confidence in the long-term viability of Lytton Creek to provide enough water for the village, especially with the situation with climate change. So,
Okay, any other comments regarding the update? Councillor Lightfoot.
I know that recently we've talked about water meters, and information we've received talks about how when water meters are installed, the use goes down, even if they're not being charged by volume.
Right.
And so that could probably be stretched into a strategy to increase fire flow availability.
And one of our neighboring communities is underway with installing water meters, and they received a grant to do it. And there are grants available for that because it does lead to water conservation. So that's something that we could look into. It won't be part of this grant. It would be a separate project that we would undertake.
Any other comments on the
If I
update?
can just
Councillor.
piggyback on that last comment, it just seems that if we could do that soon while we're reestablishing water lines and whatever, then we might not have to dig twice.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good point. Okay, so let's, we have put the motion forward, so all those in favor, receive this information and carried. Perfect. All right, we move right on to 7.1. CFO Margaret.
And this is our monthly report to submit our claim to Emergency Management Climate Readiness BC for the recovery funding. So I don't really have any comments to make. If somebody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Very smart. So let's put the motion forward to approve and authorize to submit. Councillor Lightfoot, seconder Toss. Any questions or comments regarding this report? Councillor Toss.
through the mayor to CAO Marquette, is there any possibility of having, and I don't know if this is just because of public knowledge, is it possible to break down the recovery staffing into individual staff members? Like how much we're paying for communications, how much we're paying for, those subsections, the engineering or whatever have.
Yeah, we don't tend to release that information in a public meeting because it is private to the individual. Having said that, it is available in the annual SOFI report
Right.
that is on the website.
Okay,
So if somebody wanted to see that
Dig deep,
information,
you
it's
could.
there.
great.
But I'm not really comfortable releasing individual people's
Sure.
pay
Yeah,
amounts.
it is pointable. You could get it.
Any other comments? Councillor Lightfoot?
I know I've asked this before, but I don't remember the answer. Can you explain to me what LFN economic development,
That's for
That's-
the gravel and the trucking of the
Okay.
gravel that we purchased for all the backfill.
I'll try to commit it and everything.
Finance pretty good.
If there are no other questions, all those in favor? Carried. Perfect. All right, we move on to item number 7.2.2, which is reserve transfers and that. CFO Burkett.
Thanks again, Mayor O'Connor. This report is, we're looking for approval to do a reserve transfer and then just to provide council with some information of the reserve transfers that were approved during the year. Most of the time when we have requested or brought a report forward for the procurement of something that was going to be paid from a reserve, we did both approvals at the same time. So we don't need to approve those reserve transfers now. Our reserve bylaws do require council motion to transfer money out of reserve. And so the one that we're looking to do tonight, and we have spoken about this before, our sewer accumulated surplus, which is really basically the net income of the sewer utility over time, has gotten into a deficit position of $137,000. And that's primarily, I tracked it back, and that's primarily accumulated since the fire because we've had less users and still all of our fixed costs of running the system. So I'm suggesting, as we're trying to, based on our discussions of the committee of the whole over the last couple of months, is we're trying to just kind of get some of our rates in order and kind of straighten out some of those items. I'd like to bring the sewer reserve to zero to at least give it a chance, to move forward. So that's the recommended motion.
So it's a two-part motion here. Who'd like to put it forward?
I'll make the motion.
Councillor Michelle, seconder.
I'll second.
McCann. Now, comments, questions? Councillor Lightfoot.
To our CAO, normally they have to be self financing water and sewer, correct?
Correct.
And I would assume that the province doesn't look kindly about people writing off deficits in those.
Council does.
utilities normally.
It is, council does have the authority to make a reserve transfer from accumulated surplus general
Okay,
to cover a deficit in one of the utility reserves. That is allowed. It is provided for.
but it isn't something that people would do on a regular basis. It would only be occasionally for outstanding circumstances.
It's not typical. That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions, thoughts? Thoughts?
Just I guess it's a day late and a dollar short kind of thing, but it would have been nice to see, for me anyways, the reserve balance of each of those as well. Like the ATCO reserve, I think we emptied it with the 50 grand. And the insurance reserves, I'm not sure what's left in the donation or the climate action program reserves. Maybe we could get that information for a future meeting.
It'll be in our next financial update.
Okay.
It's in the financial updates that we do quarterly. We're just, that one takes a little bit longer to do at year end because we have to straighten out some things before we can produce. Yes, it'll be there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor McCann?
Just to make sure I understand, following Councillor Lightfoot was saying that the intention of this transfer is to allow the sewer to maintain itself, but not to create an established pattern that's going to continue.
That's right. And when we look at budgets in our 5-year plan this year, we'll be looking at what the sewer rate should be set at in order to truly cover the expenses. And then in each of the years forward, we'll continue to look at that. It's particularly relevant in Lytton because the group of people that pay for water and sewer are different than the people that pay for property taxes, right? They're two different groups in this community. So it is important to have it cover itself.
Yeah.
By the users.
That's right. If I understand it right, the cost of running the sewer system is the same, no matter if we have the number of people we have now or.
It doesn't
A full
change very
town,
much. I mean, we have 69 connections right now. Before the fire, we had 151. The costs of running it are not going to change very much to get up to 151. It'll be similar.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or thoughts?
Just to clarify, so this isn't like writing off bad debts per se. This is like, we haven't been charging enough, right?
That's right. That's right. And we've accumulated a surplus from property taxes.
Mhm.
So what we're doing is taking the surplus from property taxes and covering off the sewer deficits that where we hadn't been charging enough user fees. We had very few users, remember, just after the fire.
Yeah.
And for a couple of years, and it probably isn't reasonable to think that that small group could have paid the whole price of the sewer. Utility.
All right, so if there's no other questions, all those in favor on the motion, carried. All right, we move now to 7.3.1, which there's only one item, corporate officer, and it's regarding the the appointment of a chief election officer and deputy election officer. And Lisa, are you going to speak to this?
Yes, thank you,
Yes,
Mayor
thank you.
Connors. So the purpose of the report is mainly to, again, appoint the chief election officer and the deputy chief under the section in the Local Government Act. And then the second purpose of the report is also to chat to you about mail ballot voting for the election. So staff are recommending not to proceed with mail ballot voting just due to financial as well as staff constraints. And for the appointment, though, of the election officials, it would be myself for the chief election officer, which is a standard practice. And then the deputy would be Teresa Raphael. So she's a local. I believe most of you may know her. She has a lot of experience in the community, as well as extensive hands-on experience with elections as well. And just a note, then going into the mail ballot voting, we did some preliminary kind of just looking at some numbers, and the numbers that I provided to you were just for the by-election. And then I went over them a little bit more with finance today, and they are actually higher than that. So even for the by-election, they're higher than what was noted there. So it would be at least a couple $1,000s for most of those items. And with the software itself, I spoke with the previous chief election officer. She said that the software itself was not the most efficient. And as well as for the general local election, they only really received about 7 mail ballots were cast. So extremely low compared to, other organizations. And it doesn't really justify the cost and staff time. So,
Okay, thank you. Sarah,
Just would be my only comment is that the information we have is that during the last election, it was very underutilized mail-in voting. So it was for very small fee.
So the recommended motion is actually 3 parts, including all of those pieces. So let's put it forward and then we can discuss. So Councillor Lightfoot moves, a seconder, Councillor McCann. Questions, comments, thoughts regarding this motion? Councillor Thomas.
Would it be possible to separate the mail-in voting part of this motion so that
We could.
it's not all lumped in together?
We could make it a separate motion, absolutely. Yeah.
Would I be able to make that friendly amendment to the motion to separate them?
Yes, I don't see why not.
Yep, that's fine.
Councillor- Yeah. Okay, so we have 2 motions, the first 2 parts and the third. So we will discuss the first one. That's regarding the appointment of elections officers. Are there any thoughts, comments around that? No, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Now, the second motion is regarding the mail-in ballots. So thoughts, comments on this? Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. I'm just, I think in our last election, there was more individuals in the area. And I think because we have so few residents now, that really to reach the property owners and the new property owners that we have, I'm in favor. I'd be against this motion. I would be in favor of continuing with the mail-in voting because of democracy and having as much involvement with our electorate as possible and the property taxpayers. Yes.
Any other comments about this? That's what I like to put.
I'm inclined to say we shouldn't do the mail-in packages just because we're looking at a cost of $4,000 or more. for 7 votes, and we're asking the rest of the electors in the community to cover that cost. There will be, I imagine, at least 1, if not 2, early ballot opportunities. Is that correct?
Yes, there will be one. There is, it's required to have at least one. Just with the population, we're only required to have one. And may I just make a note, just one thing to keep in mind is with the postage, if there is any kind of disruption with the postal service, that there will be a requirement to courier these packages to and from these people. And we do have an issue with couriers, as well as just, just getting the financial side will be significant. And I did do a quick little tally of a mail out that we just did for the workbooks. And for non-residents, there was about 26 people that we sent it out to. So after I took out some of the duplications and a few other like organizations, because there was a few organizations and companies that own property, and I think there was maybe 26 people.
I just wanted to address Councillor Lightfoot's point. We could have a second advanced voting day as well. Like we're required to have one, so we've scheduled one. But if council felt that would be a way to make the voting more accessible, we could have a second one. That wouldn't be a problem.
Question on the second one. So if we were to have a second one, then we would have costs of staff time for a full day as well, correct? Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments?
It's funny because you kind of have a reaction and then you think about it, you're going to have your reaction again. So my initial reaction was, oh, why would we do that? But then I read the reasoning, and yes, that makes perfect sense to follow the cheapest path. But I'm wondering if it would be staff costly or perhaps a little bit effective to just find out how many people would even want it. Like you said, there's 20 some odd that you sent stuff to already. Is there any way that we could reach out to those 20 some odd people and say, hey, we're doing a tally. Would you come to Lytton to vote? Yes or no? Good. And then we know how many people we're looking at. We know before there was 7, but we don't know now how many of those 7 even are interested in voting or where they are really. But maybe just ask, and then we'd have more information to go on and to decide if it really is it sounds like it would be kind of financial encumbrance to go down the path, but
yeah,
it'd be good to know how many people would be wanting that and whether or not if it's feasible to do that.
that's definitely feasible.
My opinion, I remember hearing right after the election that there was only 7 mail-ins, and it actually, 7 mail-ins, and it surprised me how few there were, how people that want to vote came.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I agree with Councillor Toss that more people don't live here anymore, because those people were many people were still living far and wide.
Oh, yeah,
And they came here. I'm not sure I would support mail-ins. Councillor Toss.
Thanks, Mayor. Do we have a timeline to decide on this, Corporate Officer Storchenko?
I do need to bring the election bylaw to you in the next month or so. So it does have to be, that's why I have a motion to possibly amend the bylaw.
So it's either tonight or tonight we must make a decision.
We have a motion on the
We
floor
do have a
regarding
motion.
it, so we need to vote on that no matter what.
But that would inform my decision.
Right. So
Can I ask Corporate Officer Storchenko, is there an actual deadline for when the bylaw needs to be passed?
There is, and I just don't have that right in front of me at the moment, but there is definitely a deadline that it has to be passed. Yeah, and usually the reason why it comes earlier in the year is because we have to obviously, if we're going to do mail ballots, we have to find someone that's going to print all the materials, get all the supplies. So there is, and there's a lot of deadlines for the actual mail out as well.
It's a lot of
Councillor Toss.
Yeah, I'm still strongly against this. I'd like to know when the bylaw would have to be passed. I support what Councillor McCann is saying to find out how many people would be using it, but if it's not going to work within our time frame, then I would vote differently. I'm strongly in favor of spending the extra to get people involved with the democratic process, even if it is only 7 votes. Let's remember that I was elected by 1 vote, and that our I believe total involvement or total vote count was in 200 or low 2s, and so in our case 7 votes are crucial, and we have a democratic, inclusive society. So if we have somebody in a wheelchair, we don't care about how much it's going to cost to put the elevator in the Village of Lytton office, because we live in an inclusive society. I think that extends into our democratic process, and I am strongly in favor of continuing with mail-in voting. So I'll be voting against this resolution. Thank you.
Other comments? Councillor McCann, did you have your hand up?
No, I didn't.
No.
I can see both sides of it, but I just, we're discussing upping our property taxes because we have to cover this election. And I mean, at 7 votes, that's like $650 per person. I don't know.
Also 20% of our electorate.
And everyone has the option of traveling to Lytton
Mhm.
or it's not that they don't have an opportunity to vote. Other
Can I make a
comments?
suggestion?
Yes.
I do think we could probably, and corporate officer Storchenko can correct me, but I do believe we could put this off for 1 meeting. And potentially between now and then, we could make an attempt to contact as many of these people as we can to get a sense. We could also have the proper timeline for the bylaw adoption, and we could bring that back at the next meeting. And then if we need to force the vote at the next meeting, you'll see it on the agenda. But we would come with, perhaps a little bit more information. Does that make sense, do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. I know that the bylaw has to be done at least 56 days before the nomination period. But again, it just also comes down to the supplies and things. So, and organizing all that. But yeah, that's no problem. We can put that
Okay.
off. Right?
So we do have the motion here, so let's
I think we're
vote.
tabling it, aren't we? Sorry.
Just vote on it.
Let's vote on the motion. Sure. It's on the table, so.
So, sorry, may I ask who actually did because we split the motion. So for
Yeah.
the second motion, who moved and seconded?
So moved.
Nobody.
The second one, we didn't move, but it would be Councillor Toss and the seconder would be Councillor McCann.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So on the question regarding mailing ballots, all those in favor? Councillor Lightfoot,
This is to
sorry.
discontinue.
That's
Yeah, to remove the provisions.
Move it. And all those opposed, I'm trying to figure this out.
Removing.
I don't have to say that often.
So it looks like the motion was defeated.
Be brought back.
And we will see it again at the next meeting. Councillor Lightfoot.
If staff and council do decide to send out a letter, I think it's necessary to include the costs that are associated and the return of the last mail-in ballot that was conducted.
Share that information with people.
Information.
Making the calls, yeah, makes sense.
Okay,
That's why we're calling.
all right. We will move on then to, where are we here? I'm lost. Oh, yeah, 7.4. Thank you. Director of Development. I say her name, she shows up. So we have Carolyn Lamont here. 4.1, which is, 7.4.1 regarding pocket park. Downtown enhancement, that's what it is.
I think there's a
So
short
Carolyn,
presentation.
I'll turn it over to you.
Terrific. Good evening, Mayor and Council and community in attendance. This is a short report that I'll just do a little disclaimer up front. This is for the Northern Development Initiative Trust grant application. And like most grant applications, they're coming, but then you have many other deadlines. And last week, we were really working on this because we think it's quite important. And what it is to continue to enhance downtown. So if you recall, we first had, next slide, we had the Pocket Park Phase 1 improvements, which was thanks to a lot of community donations, and that's great. And the village also installed the temporary washroom. And then Phase 2 was the cooling mister, which is waiting for the hot weather. We won't be installing it for a few more months, but it's ready to go. We had a landscape design done. It still needs further consideration or approval by council, which will also include irrigation and new landscaping. And again, the landscaping won't be installed until the frost is done. And then also, just to loop back a little bit, in February 2024, council directed staff to investigate the cost to rehabilitate some of the items damaged with the fire, in particular, street lighting, picnic tables, and benches. And I think we've all seen a few of those around town. So what I wanted to do is just really outline where we're going. Next slide. As far as this grant application, which is due on Saturday, which is odd, but it is. And so will be to construct and install, so Pocket Park Phase 3, construct and install a permanent accessible timber frame washroom, which is similar in character to what the shade structure is. And water fountain would be in that. Construct and install community event bulletin board, because I think we had a conversation. And then this is a little, perhaps a little bit of the planner and me. Movable seating has worked a lot. But that is something to think about, whether you want to introduce it, what would allow people to move the chairs around with the shade and the sun, and et cetera. Another option is to put more permanent sort of seating up top on that mid place that could be bolted. The other one is to replace and install, and I have 35 streetlights, but that will really depend. Like I said, we're still getting cost estimates coming in. We believe that restoring them or refurbishing them is not worth it. There's a whole question on the status of the electrical, and that's really a big question mark out there right now. And then to refurbish 4 picnic tables and 12 benches. So that's pretty much it. I have a preliminary budget, but like I said, if the light fixtures or the electrical comes in much higher, then perhaps we'll be doing 20 lights, which would cover Main Street. But if we get more, what we wanted to do is capture that $200,000 basically. Yeah. And I think, a project that is restoring the street lighting is very consistent with what this grant program is. It's capital improvements to the downtown. So, and so I've noted that. Originally in your staff report, I said it was 300,000. So every other program is 300,000. And as I was working on Pocket Park, it seemed to be 300, and then it's only 200 for downtown enhancement. So I've done some correction. But again, we're still trying to use the monies that the village has. And so the resolution or the recommendation is that council receive the downtown enhancement Pocket Park and street lighting report dated January 27th, 2026 for information, and that council approve a contribution of $100,000 from the village insurance reserve fund in support of the application submitted to the NDIT for downtown enhancement of community space.
Okay, so let's put that motion forward. It is 2 parts. Well, thank you, Councillor Michelle, the seconder.
Second.
Councillor McCann. Now we'll open it up for comments, questions, discussion. Councillor Toss.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. I have a couple questions. So irrigation, is that going to be part of this? Okay.
Yes.
And I have to say the feedback from the community that I've had is they do like the old street lights. I've even had community members say they like the rust on it and the look of it. It's true. I've heard it from a couple people. And I'd like to see them reused. But that's just my opinion. And then I'm wondering about archaeology for these. If we have to put new bases into each of these light fixtures, will that not invoke archaeology? So also making it a better fit to refurbish the ones we have so that we don't have to dig. I'm just saying, because there might be some additional costs there for the village. And then as far as the street lighting goes, in town now, I don't know if Mayor O'Connor and Councillor Michelle would find or have comment on this, but I find that the existing lighting that we've put in post-fire is too bright. Like I personally can't have my window open at night because the light up on the hill is so bright that it's into my room. So I don't know if that's something we could look at in the future, but there,
It's too dark around my place.
is that right?
Way too
You're talking
dark.
about streetlights?
Yes.
That's enhancement or the?
Well, I'm hoping,
hydro-
and my point is that I'd like to see these ones reinstated and what we have now dimmed. And I don't know about your area, but my area is like crazy bright. So maybe.
I
some
think the light you're
consistency.
talking about is actually on IR.
But there's one on Fraser
I
Street.
don't know that the money to do that could come from this grant necessarily.
Oh, that was hydro.
Because that's hydro. Yeah, those are hydro. But that is a conversation. we can have.
Sure, yeah, that might be something that we could talk about, but I'm in favor of the dimmer, smaller lights. Thank you.
I will just say that I'm not a big fan of the goosenecks either, which is what those are, because they're not shaded. They're not directing the light, they're dispersing it. But previous year lights weren't LED and they were incandescent, and these would light better. So what we're looking at, and we've tracked down the original supplier, but we've also found some suppliers to keep it competitive if we were to do new purchase that are, like, you can even match the color, you can, yeah, it's quite a rigmarole that you can get
Thank you.
to match that. And that, like you, I like the historic lights, particularly for the, yeah.
Councillor Lightfoot.
If you can't use the old ones, I can understand. It seems like there's a lot of material there that's valuable.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of a shame, even if it broke even, we wouldn't be creating garbage or whatever.
Exactly.
Having said that, my recollection of the street lighting is that the wiring between the street lights and the sources are not to code. And the bases were sometimes not secured properly. And if we do go ahead with this, or if you get funding for it, several of them had sockets on them so that other people could use it. There was one up by the apartment and there was one by the bank. There was just 3 or 4 around town where people could plug in for other uses.
In fact, I think the ones on Main Street had them for decorative, we had snowflake decoratives around them for years.
Yes,
So they were put up every winter.
yeah, the snowflake lights go on top of them, so
I
that
do.
you can attach it.
They put them up on
That's
Main
seasonal
Street
things, right?
and then ones by the visitor center. All right, comments, Councillor McCann.
Yep. So I'm wondering if we could kind of look at the possibility while you're playing around with all those lights and the standards and whether you throw them away or trash them or figure out what the best way to hook them up is, because that's going to be a lot of fun. Because there's such a sentimental attachment to them, I would recommend that we consider keeping the best 5 or whatever it is and putting them in a place either at the hub or in the park, somewhere, one of those 2 places where it can be acknowledged that these were the lights that we all loved and we wanted to keep, and even though we couldn't keep all of them, we kept these 5. And just to have something there to hang on to that was what we had. Because, yeah, you're going to find all kinds of people who are going to tell you that about those lights. As far as the other part of the plan I was saying earlier, can you please explain the, I think you call them patio chairs?
Movable.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a bit of a trend in communities now. You go down on Robson and they'll just have random chairs, and I know there's a question that they'll get stolen, and maybe the option is you wait till village offices and you tie them so when the village office is open, they're there, and when they're not. The other one is what's really popular now is the Adirondack chairs, which is randomly, but they're big ones.
Yeah.
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 Those?
Adirondack.
The long.
Spoken.
Yeah.
I'll Google it.
Those are the two things that I came up with when I said, no, we cannot have chairs that just sit there because
No.
somebody stole my broken old mother's
Yeah.
outdoor chair, like really people, you never know, they just steal stuff. So those are, you'd have to have someone that would just bring it in at night. So that location. Or I'd like to see the Adirondacks up on the deck though, then. That'd be where I'd put them. The middle.
Like up top on the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just.
Councillor Toss.
Thank you. To Councillor Michelle's point, it'd be nice to hear from residents because there is inconsistent lighting through the village. So if a resident had too much or too little lighting, that we could take that into account as we're planning.
Yeah.
So that areas that are too bright or too dim can be addressed.
Because we didn't get all the streetlights back that we had.
Yeah.
So,
And I was thinking the same thing, you know, when, I'd be in favor of not refurbishing the old ones, but bringing the newest, partly because of the cost. But also, I was also thinking about the places where I walk now that it's pitch dark, where there used to be a street light that wasn't replaced, that would be an opportune time to, a place to be very strategic and where they're placed.
Okay.
I had one other point.
Councillor McCann.
The bulletin board. We had a bulletin board. We actually had two. And they were donated by the Two Rivers Community Service Society. We found someone to make them and to put them in good places. And I can tell you, we didn't spend that much money that you got budget there to do that. So it might be worth considering having a volunteer organization like that take on that piece of it once we're there. Just saying.
They were timber frame.
They were timber frame. Yeah.
But let's see glass on. Need to be periodically, just because it's a. We're in whatever. Adhere to.
I have no idea. My phone just started talking to me.
It's something.
all emergency services.
Right, we have a motion on the floor. All right. Yes.
In terms of the timber bathrooms, are we stuck to that if we put this grant forward? Because I've seen some lovely stone like bases on public bathrooms. I've got pictures of it. I've taken to share, but are we stuck with timber if we go forward with this?
No, we're just a washroom, but I think there was an element to keep the consistency, so that was why.
So it would be in conjunction, or sorry, so it would match the
Yeah.
existing structure.
And is that in the same place
Contractor.
where the other temporary ones are now? Or like, what's the other question I had?
Yeah.
Where is that going to be?
Location.
All right, so basically that same spot. Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of the
And
rationale.
we'll have to adjust it so that it's accessible, because right now it's a step up.
Exactly.
Right, this is intended to be an accessible washroom. So
Yeah.
we can do some work there.
Because that's part of that part, right?
Yeah, that is.
A block used to
It's a
be.
step up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was not. Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear a question on this motion. All those in favor?
Mhm.
Carried. All right, now we move on to building violation procedure policy. That's a mouthful. And are you speaking to that?
I just want to make a couple of comments on it first, and then I'm going to turn it over to Redwood Development. And
Okay,
this policy is being brought forward to council because we did have a situation in town that we were receiving complaints about. And our contracted building inspector and building official then turned to us and said, so what's your policy for dealing with these? And we didn't have anything. So what we've done is worked with them and some of the policies that they've seen in the past and put something together that's fairly consistent with what appears to be a normal approach to this type of thing. So it feels a little bit procedural, but it then gives a consistent response when these types of complaints are heard. So that's just the preamble.
Yeah. Lisa, can jump to the next slide. Yeah, so this is where the first two bullets is really what CAO Mumperkett has talked about. But then, and also in discussions with the building officials from the TNRD and our contractors, they offered up the TNRD's policy, and then also our contractors work in missions. So I kind of looked at what they did, and we sort of, and again, I think the point is it's not intended to add requirements, but really to set down a process in dealing with them. And that process falls not only on the person that's maybe subject to the violation, but also us on what we need to do. So, get back to them, create more certainty. So, next slide, I just touched on, and I figured that all of you could just ask me more specific if there's a particular paragraph. So we deal with the focus. So all properties in the village, the focus area, so whether they're compliant of a violation, and then investigation procedures of the confirmed violation. So what we can and can't do is, building inspectors as life safety are able to enter. That's in our current bylaw, and then notices and then timelines. So, and reasons. So next slide. And then there's also, and I have previous life worked on bylaw enforcement, and there's an amazing amount of certain people that do complain quite a bit, and sometimes they're not always valid. So there's a procedure there to make sure that it's not, or to one municipality where it was someone in house that kept me really busy. So you want to make sure that the it's not just your personal, there's real violation to our bylaw. And then obviously confidentiality and freedom of information, which is what FOI PPA, we have to be compliant with the provincial requirements. So again, I said it talks about recording the complaints, responding to the complaints, and then rules and responsibilities of conduct for village staff and building officials to document and record, and then obviously pre-fire enforcement. There really are no files before that, so we will not be enforcing on that. So, yeah, next slide, and that's the recommendation that you adopt the building violation procedure policy. And just a note is that we will be putting it into your new format for policies. I used the wrong.
Okay, good, thank you.
So it'll be very consistent with all your other.
All right, so we have a motion to adopt this policy. It's not a bylaw, it's a policy. So someone would like to put that forward. Councillor Lightfoot, seconder Toss. Any comments, questions regarding this? Councillor Toss.
I'm happy to see this go forward, and we'll be voting in favor of it. And I'm really glad that Grable was part of developing the bylaw. So thank you.
I'd also like to say this is just so good that we're getting these policies, various policies, this one in particular in place for the village moving ahead. Councillor Lightfoot.
It's somewhat related. You can shut me down if it's not. It's going on our website, and to be honest, I don't go on our website very often, but we used to have a list of bylaws and policies, so this will be added to the website.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so if there's no other questions, all those in favor? Very perfect. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, we move on to item 7.5, Public Works, and I believe Aaron Marquette is going to speak to this, or do we have?
No, our municipal engineer.
I apologize. There's Aaron online.
Yeah.
Speak to the West of Main sewer. West of Main Street sewer main construction. Main Street sewer main. Okay, Daryl, thank you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I just wanted to give you a brief update on where we're at with the planning for construction of the village sewer west of Main Street. Lisa, could you bring up the drawing that? Okay. So as a bit of background, we earlier we talked a bit about the project at a little higher level. So in the fall, we approved 3 contractors to complete the RFP process. True Engineering has completed the design work, and about 2 weeks ago, we submitted RFP packages to the 3 proponents to give us pricing, and those RFPs are closing in about a week's time. So the diagram or the figure that you have on the screen, that shows the areas of the work that are being proposed for sewer upgrading. So in general, the general thought is that the initial work will start down Center Lane and it'll start near First Street, and it'll proceed northward towards Sixth Street, and it'll go up Sixth and connect to the existing sewer on Main Street. Then there's some associated connection points. We have sewer that's going to be extending up to West Lane and also a water main loop through that area. And we have some connecting sewers to Main Street. Right at First Street, we're connecting to the sewer that's coming down along Main Street, down the hill on Third, and then, of course, the Sixth Street connection. There's also a Fourth Street connection that's going to be picking up the existing trunk sewer that comes right now from IR-17 down Main Street. It currently goes down 7th Street, and then it goes south on Fraser Street. And currently it goes around what is known now as the hub site, carries down West Lane, and then comes back on First. So there's a little bit of a change in the flow pattern here. We're going to be bringing the trunk sewer, the main sewer that comes from the IR-18 area and the north parts of the village down through the center lane lane corridor. So one of the benefits of doing that is that we can largely build that section through center lane in the dry. If we were trying to replace the sewer through the existing West Lane corridor, we'd be dealing with a fairly heavy flow that's coming from the new development on IR-18 plus whatever rebuilds we've had in the village. There's also a water main loop on West Lane. We're doing that now because since we're doing the work on West Lane, there's a very small water main there. I think it's 1.5 inches. So we want to replace that, put in a newer line. It'll be a larger line, a 6-inch line. That's going to be providing ample flows for the hub site. So we'll have fire flows. And as far as other connections, we're also providing a new connection. There's an existing force main on the CN rail yard, and we'll be reconnecting that so they'll have service from that side. Is there any questions on the work plan?
Okay, so let's put the motion forward to receive this report for information. Councillor Lightfoot, seconder McCann. Any questions, comments regarding this presentation? Councillor Lightfoot.
So I can see the heavy dotted lines where the new work will be done. And so I'm assuming, for instance, the sewer line from the parish hall will just connect on 6th with the main line, and but the old line will still be intact, the same as at the end of Fraser and First on the riverside. Those two lots will still use the old line that connects with the main line?
Correct. At this point, we are anticipating still using the existing line. We are looking at options for that section. We may consider relining that section depending on our grant funding and what we have remaining once we near the end of our allocation. But currently, it does connect on Fraser Street from the parish hall and goes down. It will be rediverted when it hits 4th Street, and it'll go down to Center Lane for the flows connecting down to the wastewater treatment plant. So there's still some possibility. There's a section there that we might upgrade. It's not that section between 6th and 4th. It's not as bad a shape as some of the other sewers that we're replacing currently, but it still might be an option depending on where our grant funding, what we have left over when we complete most of the work in the village.
Otherwise, it can get put on the list for future. Okay.
Correct.
Good. So Councillor Toss.
I just thought something that came to you, stupid, perhaps logistical question, but what happens to homes when, say, for example, Center Lane sewer is being replaced to the homes that are already connected? What do you do temporarily for that?
Well, there'll be a plan in place. We've instructed the contractors that sewer service will have to be maintained. So they'll have to have a pumping strategy to bypass pump for any flows that do come down. We will be also informing residents. We'll be writing a letter just informing them of construction and some of the sequencing probably in the next couple of weeks. Probably we have next week we'll have the RFPs in, and then probably shortly after that we'll be selecting the contractor. And then if there's any other information that the contractor can provide, we'll also pass that along to residents.
Okay, so no flow, like,
Nobody's without.
nobody's sewer will be infected.
Nobody's
Thank you
without.
very much.
Correct. There'll be no service interruptions. Correct. We're not planning on telling somebody that they can't use sewage for a couple of days or they can't flush their toilets. It'll be we'll try and
That went
manage it.
over very well.
CAO Albuquerque.
I just wanted to summarize, just to say that the next step will be, once we have all of the responses from the contractors, the recommendation will come back to council to sign the contract with the contractor. As Daryl mentioned, then we will have contact information, schedule, lots of information to communicate to the residents. We can't do the communication yet because we don't have enough of the details, but it will be coming.
Councillor Lightfoot.
Two questions, I guess. First one, I suspect you can't answer, but looking ahead to community events or whatever, and looking at May long weekend. So once the contract is awarded, I guess we can have more firm dates.
We'll have a schedule. We'll have a schedule.
Right.
Yeah, we're anticipating 6 months, Daryl.
Correct. I would say it's going to be a 4 to 6 month. There is a provision in the RFP that they have to provide their schedule to completion. So we'll have, once we have the RFPs in, that'll be part of the evaluation process. So we have a scoring criteria, and yeah, schedule will be one of the aspects we will be considering.
You, Councillor McCann.
With that in mind, I just remember the last big hole. So is the process that you do a section and then you fill that in, or is the process that it's like you've got different phases here? So is phase one going to kind of all be dug up the first time and then that gets filled in and then you go to phase two? Is that the process that you follow, or how does that work, like for holes in the ground?
Yeah, typically, I think, I mean, it'll depend on what the contractor proposes in their RFP, but typically, I would anticipate that they will be opening up a section of trench, say, for example, maybe 50 meters in one day. They will install the pipe, they'll start compacting and have they might start moving to the next section and they'll finish up backfilling. So it'll be kind of a laddering process. They won't be opening up, massive amounts of trenching. They'll be, doing sections, and then they will be completing and backfilling and getting the lanes and roads passable again.
Yeah. And there's some kind of an inspection process they go through as all that goes through, isn't there? Yeah. You're not going to put
Correct.
dirt in the
Yes, there
ground.
is.
So
Yeah,
it's all-
there is. We'll
Yeah.
be presenting that. True Engineering is the engineer of record, so they'll be having an inspector coming out to monitor the work. We'll also have village staff, the contract administrator, myself. So there's a number of layers of monitoring that'll be going on for the process.
Yeah. Thank you, Daryl.
Councillor Lightfoot.
I remembered my second question. The second question was, the work plans for archaeology. How is the village dealing with that? Do we have one? Can you just explain?
Yeah, so for this project, so our archaeologist that we have on contract has prepared the work plans, working with Daryl and the team on the specific information of the ground disturbance, and those have been submitted. We had already submitted some preliminary work plans based on knowing the kind of area of town we would be working. So she was able to incorporate, that had already been submitted, so she was just able to add on to it when this final plan came through. So we did receive the endorsement last week, I believe it was. Daryl, the work plan
Correct.
for the project was endorsed last Thursday, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so
This
that's
won't delay us.
We'll have to do lots of monitoring, and we're working with the archaeologists to staff up so that.
Yeah, but last time, like the water, that was part of the delay, right? We were waiting for that work plan approval.
That's right.
So with this already started.
As soon as we got the drawings, we sent it to the archaeologist and said, please get to work on this while we're finalizing details of the drawings. We knew where the ground disturbance was going to be.
Okay.
That's the key.
Okay, so
And that's part of the reason why we've actually been pushing to get this construction program started early in the year, because then we have some more resources that can be allocated for the archaeology, so the crews don't get diverted elsewhere once construction starts up in other communities.
Okay, if there's no other questions then, so we have a motion to accept this for information. All those in favor? Carried. Good. All right,
Thank you.
move on to, thank you very much, Daryl. We look forward to the work in the village starting.
Completing.
Completed, that's right. Okay, so we have two items of correspondence. The first one to receive for information is a letter regarding BC Heritage Week. So can we have a motion to receive? Salute. Thank you, Councillor Toss, seconder Councillor Lightfoot. Any comments? All those in favor? Carried. Second item is a letter regarding interior health and travel funding. And I just want to let everyone know that I have heard from Interior Health that this issue that's laid out in here has been resolved. And also at that next council meeting, February 10th, we have scheduled to have IHA come and give us a full update. So
Good to hear.
yeah. So I don't believe we need to do any action on this this letter here. So we will receive this for information. Councillor McCann, seconder. Councillor Toss. Are there any other comments, questions, Councillor?
I think that what you just said to be communicated to Megan Bandridge would be appropriate. Just to let her know that you did follow up and that that was the result of your conversation. I think she'd appreciate knowing that something did happen, that you did follow up.
Okay, all those in favor, unless we have other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Good. All right, move on to reports. I really do have a report somewhere. So, just to begin, I'd like to say that with the recent passing of Dr. Ruby Dunstan, so on behalf of the village of Lytton, we give heartfelt condolences to her family and friends. In 1983, Ruby was elected chief, the first ever female chief for Lytton First Nation. And for a decade, while she was chief and beyond, she was a determined, passionate leader. And she's recognized for many, many things, including the establishment of the Inverfountainstein Valley Park. She was a champion for health and education in the community, and for preserving and lifting culture and language of the Inverfountain people, amongst other things. But I do feel it's important that we recognize the passing of, as I said, give condolences. As far as my work on behalf of the village these past 2 weeks, although I didn't attend a lot of formal meetings, I was quite busy, but I'll just comment on a couple of meetings that I did attend, and two, of course, were in Kamloops. January the 22nd, the Thompson Regional Hospital District Board meeting. That was in the morning, and the TNRD Regulated Board meeting in the afternoon. It's a full day. And if anyone is interested in these meetings, they're recorded and available on the TNRD YouTube channel. So, interested. On January 26th, which was yesterday morning, I attended a health planning table meeting. And the health planning table was active, I believe, before the fire. It attempted to get started after the fire. It was put on hold for quite a while. So it's just recently been reinstated. And so along with representatives from all communities in the Lytton area, as well as some organizations such as Interior Health, Intercaptain Health and First Nation Health, the focus is mainly working toward rebuilding our medical center and health services on the IHA property on Main Street. And there does seem to be commitment from the conversations and the work that's just getting started with that group to commitment to move things along quickly. Now, what that means exactly, it's hard to say, but But I am hopeful that we will have something to announce publicly soon. So that is my report, and I will move on to Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. I don't have a lot to report. As the Lytton Chamber of Commerce liaison, I'd like to mention the February 19th AGM, which will be happening here at the Parish Hall at 5 p.m. I also note that some items are coming out of closed meeting, and one of them is how would I say this? That Chad Hogan will be our new fire chief. So I wish him congratulations and glad to have him on board. Also, I was at coffee with Mayor yesterday, and we also have Raven Dunson and Jason Robertson having joined the village team, which I'm really excited about. So I wanted to give a shout out to Jason for doing a great presentation yesterday in the parish hall, and he talked a lot about engagement in the broader community on our OCP, and I have a lot of, well, I'm very excited to have these people on board. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Sorry, a question about the Chamber of Commerce meeting. Is it open to the public?
I believe it is, yeah.
AGM.
And nominations for directors are still open as well. So see Bernie Pandrich if you're interested in being a director.
See,
And if you'd like us to include anything in the newsletter, feel free to.
Absolutely, we would love
The
that.
newsletter's going tomorrow, so if you want to provide me with the information, we'll get
After
that
the
in.
meeting, I'll get that to you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor McCann.
I didn't write my report ahead of time, so I had to put it together real quick. Funny, I must have got busy, eh? So I did attend the coffee with the mayor on the 19th and the 26th. On the 17th, there was a new Pathways to Gold board meeting by Zoom. And on the 21st, there was a Fire Smart meeting that Councillor Lightfoot and I both attended. And on the 23rd, there was a Chief Spentlam Park Task Force meeting. So we have gotten together the park project. And it's interesting because New Pathways to Gold was the original organization that sponsored the grant for the park here. And then Lytton First Nation took on the responsibility of managing the finances for that. And LA West Landscaping Architects did the actual work. There were a number of contractors involved in getting things done, 3 that I'm aware of, not just one. So what I've learned from all this process is that the more complexity you add, the more difficult it is to get done. So we reassembled our little group and said, look, we really need to get this finished. What do we need to do to wrap it up? And so both the New Pathways to Gold organization and the task force are keen to find out what needs to be done, how the organizations can work together to finish things up in a good way and have some kind of grand opening. So the 2 groups will be meeting this week. I think it's Thursday or Friday, and hopefully coming up with a plan. So for example, things that there's still money sitting there for the benches that are planned for out here. They're looking over them. Let's hope they face the river, not this. But anyway, should be able to make sure that happens. And inside the pergola, there's curved benches that need to go in there. And the process is that the landscape architects plan that, find the vendor for that, then send the information about the vendor to LFN Finance to order that. So if LFN Finance never really got that memo that they were supposed to order it, well, that's what happened. So it didn't get ordered, and they went, oh, I didn't know we were supposed to order that. So things like that are how we ended up where we are now with things kind of just hanging there. So that's the intention, and I'm really looking forward to seeing something productive move forward, because we do have a really nice park here that I think everyone wants to be proud of, and it's nice to see people working together. I did want to mention about Jason Robertson attending coffee and sharing information about the village official community plan. And he invited people to attend the workbook session on Wednesday evening, and I'm going to say that again because none of us have mentioned it yet. So Wednesday from 4 o'clock till 7, I believe, we are here and welcoming people to sit down and find their way through that booklet and leave it for
Tomorrow?
Wednesday, tomorrow.
4 to 7, and enjoy a light supper.
Yeah, there's food. We told everybody there's food. So that, we're looking forward to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Michelle?
Nothing to add to that.
Thank you. Councillor Lightfoot?
A little bit this last 2 weeks, made it to coffee on the 19th. And then we all had our committee of the whole on the 20th. Anyone that wants to watch us in action, discuss. It's a live feed, I believe. Every once a month, first Tuesday of the month. Although this month we did have 2 because we're talking budget. On the 21st, I attended Fire Smart with Councillor McCann and spent 3 hours with NDIT. They had their election of officers. Margot Wagner was reacclaimed as chair. Maureen Pinkney, who's the mayor of 100 Mile, was vice chair. And Margot Wagner and Jim Smith, who is electoral area E, were both nominated to the NDIT board. So during that meeting, we had a presentation from BCEDA, Mr. Dale Wheel and Colleen Bond talked about some of the economic development, and anyone that's interested in economic development, their website sounds like it's got a lot of good tools for assessing needs. So I encourage people to do that. We didn't have any applications to review this particular meeting, but our next meeting is March the 31st, and that's when we'll endorse our first intake, which is, I believe, 65% of 1.9 million.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
it.
Thank you for the reports. All right, we move on to item number 11, which is items to be released from closed meetings. So we're going to do that now. We have 3 resolutions. The first one, that council appoint Chad Hogan as Lytton Fire and Rescue Chief, effective January the 15th. So as we know that Chad is now our new fire chief, and we truly thank Kyle Parker for the work he's done over the last while. But we know he has moved on to, I won't say greener pastures, but other pastures. That's right. So we do appreciate and thank him. The second resolution that we're releasing from closed tonight is that council receive and approve Christian Arenkil's, sorry about the mispronunciation, fire and rescue application. And the third is that council approve a contract for Maggie Cross funded through operations budget to the end of December, and that council approve the engagement of Jason Robertson and Raven Dunstan to assist with the organization of the OCP working groups, which was referred to earlier, funded through the OCP budget to the end of April. And further, that all 4 people, it says 3 in here, but I'll change that, ask to have that changed to 4, be added to Lytton's associate member program. MIABC, municipal insurance. So those items have been released. Now we are going to be moving into closed session to discuss items under the community charter 91A and 92BI. So we do need a resolution.
As well as 91E, sorry, that was.
Oh, and 91E, I apologize. Yes. Councillor Lightfoot, seconder.
I'll second.
Councillor McCann, all those in favor?
Aye.
And carried. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending tonight's regular council meeting. And I'll turn it back over to Corporate Officer Starchenko.
Thank you, Mayor Connors. That concludes the public portion of the regular council meeting for January 27th. We ask that members of the public and staff exit the meeting as council proceeds to close. Thank you for joining us this evening. And council, I now invite you to take a short recess while I prepare the meeting for closed.